Welcome to another great episode of Real Life Matters. Of course, I am your host, DBoss, and I'm just letting everybody know that you can watch me primetime night, weeknights at 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're on Care Vision. We're in 28 different countries. And also in Canada, we're on Bell 5 Channel 658. And through the United States, through various cable networks, you can get to see it then. But in case you missed any of the episodes that I've done, you could go to my YouTube channel, DBoss Networks, and subscribe, share, and you can watch all the wonderful guests that I've had on. But I hope that everybody is also doing their 15 minutes of laughing a day, which I'm telling everybody to do. So that releases a lot of stress, endorphins in your body, the whole 9 yards. It makes you feel better. You know, what you put out is what you're going to get back. So if you're grumpy, you're going to get back grumpy people. But if you don't have anybody to laugh with, then, to do your 15 to 20 minutes of laughing, then, just turn on something funny that it laugh. Go find somebody to talk to that will make you laugh. And if it comes to extreme, then you'll have to go to sign up for some laughing classes. So I hope that doesn't come to that kind of extreme, because you should be able to find somebody or do something, because there's a lot of stuff out there that can make you laugh. Also, I have here Joanne James that's going to tell us a little bit about healthy snacking. So right after this, we'll be right back with my guests, a special guest, and I can't wait to get this one. It's a C. But anyways, we're going to listen to her and we're right back.
Welcome to Your Vital Steps to Better Health and Fitness. I'm Joanne James. Today, we're talking about exercise snacking. It's a fantastic way to fit exercise into your busy schedule. Exercise snacking is about taking small bites of exercise throughout the day. And it could look like this: anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes of movement in some way, shape, or form is an exercise snack. You can, instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs up a flight. Or you can go for a brisk walk for 5 minutes. If you're watching TV, you can sit down and do some stretches, or sit and stand to work those legs. When you're at work, do some stretches at the desk. All of that is exercise snacking. The beauty is it does not require a membership, and neither do you need equipment. So take advantage of those small pockets of time that you have throughout the day to do some form of movement. You'll feel great. I'm Joanne James, and this has been Your Vital Steps to Better Health and Fitness. See you next time.
Thank you, Joanne James, for that healthy snacking. And it doesn't mean people to do healthy snacking. It doesn't mean to do healthy snacking, meaning that you're eating something or just going out to eat. No, you got to get up, walk around, do something. If you're sitting down in a space for like more than half an hour to an hour, get up and start to stretch, move, do some type of movement, so that way you will have your blood circulating, and also, your muscles just won't start to feel too lazy. But today, I can't wait to bring on this guest, because I want to find out all about what she's doing. And she actually lives on the sea, people. So she's done her memoir called Honeymoon at the Sea. So we're going to find out all about what she's done, what's happened, the struggles, why she's living on a boat, which a lot of people probably want to do most of the time. But, we're going to find out. So with no further ado, I introduce to you Jennifer SILVA REDMOND.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I was so glad to hear about not only exercise snacking, but laughter, because I think that's one of the things that has kept us so happy all these years. We just celebrated 34 years of marriage, most of it on a boat, and we're always doing little bits of exercise, and we're always making each other laugh.
Well, it's good. A lot of people say you're all serious all the time. And I try to tell people you can't, let it loose, because it starts to show on your face, and,
Right.
And you don't want those line marks.
No.
All right. So here at Real Life Matters, Jennifer, everybody likes to tell people what's their cultural background and where they come from.
Sure. Well, I'm Mexican American. I like to say my mom was born in that far-flung part of Mexico we now call East LA, so Los Angeles. I was born also in LA and raised in West LA, area that a lot of people have heard of called Venice, California. So I grew up there, and my dad's family is actually, my dad's dad was actually from Ontario, a little town called Shaytown. So that was my maiden name was Shay. So, I like to say I'm a classic North American. One side is Mexican, one side Canadian, and we all met in the middle.
All right. So do you speak Spanish?
I do, poco. Yeah, I don't practice enough anymore, but I got to, after we were there a couple of years, I got much better at speaking Spanish, but I didn't grow up speaking it, so I had to learn it as an adult, which is harder.
Okay.
I'm all about the Duolingo app on my phone. Trying to learn, still trying to learn.
Okay. Well, do you at least cook some stuff or?
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah. We had quesadillas for lunch today. That's kind of a standard. I make chilaquiles. I make cheese enchiladas, one of my husband's favorites. But I put healthy stuff in it. I saute kale up and put it in it. Very California.
All right. So I know everybody's probably with me. You live on a boat. So you had a honeymoon. Well, just tell us how this all happened that you transitioned to a boat.
Sure. Well, I was living in New York City. I'm originally from California, as I said, but I'd been living in New York City almost 10 years. And I went back to see my family for Christmas, like you do. And so I was, seeing my friends and family, and I ran into my old boyfriend, Russell. And we'd known each other a long time. We dated, and then he broke my heart. And then I moved as far away from him as I could get, because, sometimes when you get your heart broken, you better do that, to cover yourself so you don't end up becoming a pathetic mess. So I moved to New York. And so when I came back, we ran into each other. The timing was totally right. He proposed. 6 months later, we got married a couple months later. 6 months after that, we took off from San Diego for Mexico on a sailboat, a 26-foot sailboat. And I had never done any sailing. We'd been out a few times. He taught me a little. I'd taken some classes, and we took off for Cabo San Lucas from San Diego. And I got a crash course in not only sailing, being married, and living a very simple life in a very small space. And I know a lot of people that are your listeners are going to be relating to that because of van life and tiny homes and all of that. It's a whole different way of living.
Well, it seems like it. So for you, so did you have a place to live, or you just said, okay, you know what, we're just going to live on this boat?
Yeah, we took off on the boat. Our first plan was that we were going to go down to Baja, which is, you travel down the coast of California, then into Baja, California. Then at Cabo San Lucas, you come up the peninsula on the inside, and there's this like an inland sea, or a gulf, if you like, called the Gulf of California, or the Sea of Cortez, which has a much more cool name. So we were going to spend a few months there, and then we were going to sail we were going to sail south along the coast of Mexico and through the Panama Canal into New York. So this sounded like a totally logical thing to do on your honeymoon. But we loved Baja and the Sea of Cortez so much that we just decided to stay. So we ended up staying an entire year. We were ashore a couple of weeks, a couple of times we were ashore for a week, but most of it was all living together, very close quarters for that entire year in Baja. And that was the beginning of our married life. Oh my God. You
always get to know each other if you're in a small space. You can't run to over there.
Exactly. And I have a whole chapter about, when I would get mad and I would, want to storm out, like you storm out of the house, get in your car and drive away. Well, I couldn't do that. So I stormed out of the boat, and I kind of went to the end of the boat and went, where am I going? I can't leave. So, we learned that we had to, really finish the conversation. We had to things, that might have caused an argument or that might be bugging the other one, and really talk it through. And it was good. It was a great way to build that foundation for a marriage. And as you say, we're still living on a boat and just celebrated 34 years of marriage.
Woo! We got to give you a gold medal for that one.
We have a slightly larger boat now.
Okay, so show us a picture of your book and what did
Yeah.
you so you just wanted to write about your book, your life?
Well,
You know,
people kept telling me when I would tell them the story of us, oops, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Honeymoon at Sea. Sorry, I don't have a physical book, but it's,
okay.
I've got, so we people kept telling me, that's such an incredible story. You took off on your honeymoon. You spent a year at sea on a tiny little boat, and that was the beginning of your marriage. You've got to write that. You've got to write that. I'm a writer and an editor. My day job is editing books. So people kept saying, you're the perfect person to write this book. But time went by because, one, I kind of didn't really know exactly how to tell the story. And I think I didn't have enough distance on it. I mean, there I was still living day by day in a boat with my husband. So it was kind of hard to get enough objectivity, So years after year would go by. I started working for a publishing company. I was editing other people's stuff. I came home at the end of the day, and the last thing I want to do is start writing or editing my own stuff. So the years went by.
So you get off the boat,
Yes.
go to your job, and then come back to
Exactly. Now there were that was I was
for you.
There were places that I worked. Actually, when we first got back from that first trip, we went to Florida and I got a bartending job, and I would literally get off the boat, walk down the dock, and the restaurant was right there, and I would go to work. And at the end of the shift, I would walk back down the dock and get on my boat. I mean, it was great. Unfortunately, people still smoked in bars in those days, so that was a bad thing. But being so close to work was really cool. But yeah, when I worked in corporate publishing, I had to get out. Yeah, I had to drive. So
you have all your artifacts and things that you've collected over the years in this boat.
Yes, absolutely. This over my shoulder is one of my husband's paintings. He's an artist. And so he was painting while I was kind of learning to be a writer. That's sort of one of the main stories of the book, is that I had been an actor. That was what I'd done. I was an actor. So that means I was waiting tables. As everybody knows, struggling actors all wait tables. So I was living in New York City, waiting tables, auditioning again and again, getting little parts, but nothing really big. And, I was 28. I'd been doing it for 14 years. I was kind of, not really sure what came next. And so then all of a sudden, there I am on a little boat in Mexico, sailing around all this beauty and really connecting to the culture. So I started writing every day in my journal, but occasionally writing an essay or poetry, and Russell's doing these paintings. So I'm feeling very, creative, and one thing led to another, and I just kept writing.
So when you're out there, so what's your address? Is it in, like, do people send you mail, or do you get mail, or
things are so different now? We are so lucky nowadays. I have a P.O. box. It's like a P.O. box, but it goes to a street address, like a postal annex. And then they literally scan everything that comes in. So I see it on my computer. So that's amazing. Back when we first took this trip, Russell's mom would get our mail, and she would forward it to us somewhere down in Mexico, where we were going to be somewhere for a couple of weeks. But in La Paz, which is the capital of Lower Baja California, we had friends there that ran a marina, and they had a little place that we could get mail there at Marina de La Paz. So that was very cool. But yeah, you don't really have an address. You are literally, Jennifer Redmond, sailing vessel Watchfire, the Sea of Cortez, Baja. There's your address.
So where do you guys, you're going on these trips, it may seem, where do you gas up? Like, do you just pull over somewhere?
Good question. Yeah. Right now, if you could look out my window, you would see a gas dock in this marina about 100 feet away from us. So sometimes it's very convenient, but a lot of times we may have to go way out of our way to either pull up at a gas dock with our boat, or sometimes it's take an empty diesel jug off the boat, put it in the dinghy, row the dinghy to shore, walk with a cart up to the, Safeway, do your shopping, and get your gasoline. I mean, diesel in this case, but diesel, Yeah, in those days in Mexico, we only had an outboard engine like people see like on a little skiff, or an outboard, like on a dinghy, and that was all we had for our boat. So it was a very little boat, and that would push it along very fast. But we would go to a dock and, give them our pesos, and they would pour a certain amount of diesel in the jug. I mean, it was very, very
So you'd empty it, then bring it back, and then make sure you have
exactly.
enough.
Exactly. Just like you do when you break down on the highway with your little jug of gas.
I try to look at my gas gauge.
Don't ever do that. It's no fun.
No, but men do that though. Men tend to do that thing. How long do you think I could go? How long?
Coming in, yep, coming in on the fumes. Yep, that's a very macho thing.
No. I'm not doing it, and I'm not pushing.
Me neither. Me neither. Don't cut it close. Yeah, no way.
It's personal, because you're doing something that doesn't mean I have to get them pushed because I told you to get the gas.
Exactly. And then you can say, well, I'm going to sit here in comfort and listen to the radio while you hike down the highway.
No, but men do that. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of a driven thing.
Mars versus Venus, right? Mars versus Venus.
All right, so you celebrate your holidays and stuff on the air too. You bring everybody come in.
Yes, we had Russell's mom flew down to La Paz and visited us for our first Christmas, which was in La Paz, which is a lovely city. Like I say, it's the capital of Baja California Sur. So we had friends there, and we had a lovely time, and there are parties just like you'd be anywhere. But once again, you're not entertaining people on your boat because it's little. So, but we had parties.
Everybody, okay, move over. I'm cooking.
Right. Yeah, we've had, I think, 6 people on that little boat, and that was pretty small. But what happens is, and this is all over the world, now in Baja, you run into a lot of Canadians because Canadians love sailing, as you know, and lots of Canadians sail down the coast and go to Baja, and maybe they leave their boat there and fly down back and forth for a few years, or maybe they just sail around in Baja. But we ran into a lot of Canadians, Alaska natives, people from all over the world down there. It was really great. It's a very international destination for people from all over because it's so beautiful, and it's so relatively, though it's much busier, more popular now, it's relatively still very unspoiled because the Mexican government has protected a lot of the islands in the Sea of Cortez. So they're just so beautiful. Yeah.
All right. So when you have a thing, you say you gotta go book somewhere so your people can come. So what is it? You're booking a hall and then you're cooking there, or what are you doing?
A lot of times what would happen is people who were sailing that are all out there on their own boats would get together, somewhere on shore, and they might have, be just like if you're inviting your friends over to a beach or a park to have a party, So one person brings the hot dog, somebody else brings the salad, somebody brings the potatoes. Yeah, potluck thing. And then other times we would just meet up. One couple would go to another couple's boat, and we would have, you bring something, a dessert or something, and you end up telling sea stories all night long, or talking about anchoring, whatever, telling stories, telling jokes. Right around the campfire, exactly.
Sitting around the boat there. No, yes. But has anybody ever said, are you okay? Have you lost your mind that you're living on a boat? Does anybody ask you this?
Of course. Yeah. People will walk downstairs. For some reason, when you're on the outside of a boat, it never really feels small because, you're surrounded by space, right? Okay. So you walk downstairs and all of a sudden you're in this enclosed area and you look around and go, okay, this is about as big as my living room. And these people are living their whole life in it. And people get kind of like, how do you do this? How do you do this? And I always say that if you really love being with somebody, and if they make you laugh, and you have a great time with them, then a boat has plenty of room. Because how many times in your house, you're sitting in your house to go, oh, I really need to go sit in a different chair, or I need to go sit on a different couch. You sit in your usual spot. Most people do. They have a spot they're comfortable with, like Sheldon on the Big Bang. This is my spot, but that's the same thing in a boat. You don't really need
mattresses and all that. and you
We have a
turn it so often, or
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you bring, you can bring things in, as you say, as you travel, you pick things up. Like you bring in, Mexican weavings or things that you found along the way, pretty shells or, something that was made in that part of the world. And then that suddenly becomes a part of your decor. And of course, you can get upholstery changes and things like that. But you don't really get bored on a boat of your upholstery because the minute you look outside, you're seeing the beauty of what's surrounding you. And Baja California is so incredibly beautiful. It's like, sailing in a Grand Canyon because of the beautiful colors of the water and the colors of the rocks. And it's just gorgeous. Yeah.
So when you're okay, I'm just trying, people, this is interesting because
trying to picture it.
And so had you had anything that you were scared when you're in the boat where you're caught in any storms or anything?
Sure. Yeah. Most of the time when you're at anchor, so you're literally, all that's holding you in this bay is a chain that goes from the bow of your boat down to the sand, and you've got an anchor stuck in the sand. Your boat will move around when the wind blows. So unless the wind's blowing really hard, it's hard. You don't usually get scared. You just, your anchor is dug in and it's holding your little, but it'll move around. Like if you've ever seen a horse tied to a stake in the middle of a corral, they run around in circles. Well, that's what the boat does. It's kind of tied in a place, but it's
like time out, time to get off. I would like time to get off. Every time, Jennifer, it's all good, but we're getting off.
And there's no pushing a button. There is no pushing a button saying I'm done now, because sometimes in the middle of a storm, you're also in the middle of a voyage. You have to go another 50 miles before you can get to where you can safely stop. If you're crossing even the Sea of Cortez, which is relatively narrow, you're going overnight. It's not, you don't just get there in 5 minutes. So there's no going, okay, I'm done now, I want to pull over. It's not like a car trip. You've got to keep going. And sometimes I would get seasick and Russell would have to do it all on his own. And I'd be below going, what am I doing? What am I doing?
What are you taking? Do you take some Gravol, or you just, what do you do?
Sure, you can take, but the problem is everything you take to make you feel less seasick makes you tired. And you don't really want to be tired on a boat, because if something goes wrong, you want to be alert as you can be. So, a little Dramamine.
A hard place, a catch-22.
Exactly. So a little Benadryl, a little Dramamine, but you don't want to take a knockout pill, even though you feel like knocking yourself out at that point. So yeah, there's nothing like, but most of the time we would be really careful. And Russell told me when we first started, he said, there are always people that will have really scary stories to tell. He said, but some people will sail all of their lives and never have a scary story to tell, because they thought about it in advance and said, you know what, there's a good chance I won't make it to that safe place in this amount of what they call a weather window within this good weather. So let's just stay another few days. Let's stay a week. Let's wait till it's safe. And that's the big difference between people who end up on the news getting rescued. I mean, it can happen to anybody. I'm not saying that we're superior because we didn't get rescued ever, but I'm just saying that if you're careful and thoughtful about it, plan it out, you don't want to say like, oh, I have to go even though the wind is bad and there's this storm because I promised so-and-so that we'd go to dinner this night in La Paz, right? You don't do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you take it a bit.
You did.
So have you been in the Caribbean too?
We did. We went through at the end of this book. This book ends at the end of the first year, where we're going through the Panama Canal. And that was kind of the big bookend to leaving San Diego, spending the year in Baja and in Mexico, and then going through the canal, heading for what we thought was going to be our life in New York City. But we ended up going, we went to an island in, it's actually not in, anyway, it's off of the Panama Canal in the Caribbean. Yeah. So we were going past Cuba, we were going past Jamaica. I mean, all of these places. We were heading for Florida, which is where we ended up. And we spent time in Florida, and then we ended up coming back to San Diego because of a lot of things that happened, family and that kind of thing. We wanted to come back to San Diego, and it ended up being wonderful because 2 years later we went back down to Baja. That's how much we loved it. It was so beautiful.
So when you're going down these places, you have to apply for permits and
Yes.
visas, and
Yep.
so how long does that take? Does it take a lot of time, or?
It really depends on the country. There are countries that you have to apply in advance and get a visa. Of course, the United States and Canada are so close that if you go to anchorages like where we were this summer, you would pull into a place and there would be a customs place right on the dock for people coming from Victoria, say, or Vancouver.
Okay.
That they just check in and they do it in 20 minutes probably, because they've already got their papers. We could have gone to Canada this summer, but we just had so many things going on that we didn't want to go through checking in just to leave the next day. It didn't seem reasonable. So, but yeah, I mean, it depends on the country.
Turned around and then went back.
Yes, yes. And in Mexico, you know, there's a lot of paperwork like there is crossing any border, but they make it very, you know, they're very good at it because it happens thousands of times a year, you know, that boats come through Mexico.
And of course, there's fees with that, right?
Yes, yes. And they actually go by the weight of your boat. Our boat at the time, it's based on what they call international tonnage. And so you put down, like we weighed at the time 3 tons, so 6,000 pounds, plus whatever we had on the boat. So we would go in and they would go, okay, this is, you know, and they'd work it out in pesos, and we would pay like $5 in pesos. But at that, you know, now all of those things are more expensive. I mean, going through the Panama Canal, I think cost us about $100, and now it's thousands of dollars. I understand. We haven't done it lately, but yeah, everything of course is more expensive because that was 35 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, do you have children or no?
We don't. We have had the book, it talks quite a bit about our plans and how they changed and evolved and how that worked out in our life. And we did end up with the first of our fur kids, a little dog that traveled with us for 12 years.
Oh, that's
and
a dog like that.
Yeah,
travel, and I guess used to it.
They adapt to it really well. We actually have our second dog now, is just about to turn 13. I'm looking up to where she's looking down at me going, what are you doing, Mom?
What are you talking to me?
Who are you talking to? Yeah. And so we've had these dogs, but we're very blessed that we have, you know, 3 nieces and 2 nephews and another niece by marriage. We have a wonderful family, and I have a big family, and Russell has adapted to my big family, and he has a wonderful small family, and we all get along really well and do a lot of visiting, and they come see us wherever we are and we come see them. And we spend time still in Southern California, in Los Angeles and San Diego with our family. And because of work, we go back and forth quite a bit.
So in the winter months, obviously you stay south.
Well, we don't necessarily stay south the whole winter. Last winter, we had our boat in Port Townsend, Washington, which was wonderful. We got to see snow. We had snow on the boat, which was so crazy. But then we went down to San Diego. I teach at a conference, and Russell has meetings for school. He teaches school online. Both of us work from the boat. So that's our work is from the boat.
Internet is a priority.
The internet is big time. We like to say we're cybernetic nomads. So
right,
yeah, we're bound by the Wi-Fi or the cellular signal. Yeah.
All right. And then, okay, so how long did it take you to write this book?
Well, it's, you know, you hear actors say they're a 10-year overnight success. Well, this is a 25-year process. Basically started at 10 years. Yeah, I started at 10 years after the events that happened. But because, as I say, I was working, you know, and you know, life I kept just working on it. And then being an editor, I was never really happy with it, and I would just put it away. And then I sent something in to a Canadian publisher. The book is published in Toronto, and Rebooks, the head of Rebooks, the publisher, called me and said, I can't stop thinking about your book. I want to publish it. And I was like, oh my gosh, great. And so then I had to finish it. I mean, at that point, it wasn't completely finished. So she had a wonderful editor that she put me together with. And then, you know, in the last 6 months, it's come together, and it's going to be out September 19th, but it's available for pre-order now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how many pages is it about?
It's about 250 pages, and there are some color photos. It's a paperback book, but it's really cool where when you open up the pages of the paperback, there's color photos, one of Russell and I on the boat and some other pictures of us in Baja. And so that's really cool. I think very much of a value added to people. And there's quite a bit of sailing, but for people that don't sail, one of the reviewers said armchair travelers are going to love this book because you feel like, and I'm saying what she said, that they felt like they were transported to Baja and got to spend time there and felt like they had been traveling. So I'm hoping that the armchair sailors out there will think that sounds like a really good way to spend some hours.
Well, you gotta send us a book up here so we can read.
We will. We definitely will. We're just getting.
We never had someone that lives on a boat. This is their life.
And this is the first time. Yes. Well, I'm glad to be your first boat dwelling podcast guest.
Right. All right. So are there any shout outs that you want to give people, Jennifer?
The number one, other than, like I say, that my husband who still keeps me laughing and in love. But, for people, if you want to support a small woman-owned publisher, please look on your favorite online retailer or go to your favorite bookstore and ask for Honeymoon at Sea. You can pre-order it now, and that's really, really, really helpful to a first-time author like myself and for my publisher in Toronto. So if you can pre-order wherever you love to get books or ask for it at your favorite bookseller, thanks so much, DBoss. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I thank you for telling us. She took us into her home on the boat.
She did.
On the ship. If you ever come to Toronto, we're coming down.
All right.
We're going to come down by the port there and get on this. We're going to take pictures. We're on it.
I would love that. Well, I'll put some video of the boat on my website. And if you Google Honeymoon at Sea, you'll find my blog, and I have some video and pictures there of the boat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So if anybody wants to follow you on social media and all your wonderful stuff, where can they find you?
Okay, I'm the only Jennifer Silva Redmond on Facebook, so I'm easy to find, and you've got it written right under my name. Thank you, under my face. And also J Silva Redmond everywhere else, Instagram, TikTok. And as I say, if you Google Honeymoon at Sea, you'll find my Substack newsletter, which you can read or join or whatever, and you'll see pictures there. I have pictures from a couple weeks ago when I was recording the audiobook. I'm reading the audiobook of the memoir. So I think people will get a kick out of hearing about that. And yes, I did leave my boat that morning to go to the sound studio to record it.
Well, that's good to tell everybody if you did on the boat.
Right.
Oh,
great.
Well, I thank you, Jennifer, for telling us your journey. And the journey continues. When the book actually comes out, I wanted you to come back so you can tell us how it's doing.
You're right.
As I'm telling you, this is really interesting, and I know the viewers at home would like it. I was saying, wait, what? This lady actually was on a boat?
Yes. I would love that, and I'm so glad you said that because the honeymoon continues, and here we are, still on the boat, still on our honeymoon, 35 years later.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I wish you got you and your other half all the best, because I'm telling you, to live on that. That means you guys are really in love with each other because you're encompassing everything. And I thank you so much. So appreciate you helping me share Honeymoon at Sea with the world. Yes. All right, everybody. You got it here live and direct for Jennifer and DBoss. And please go when the book, you could pre-order the book, go and pre-order. Don't wait. Just don't wait. Then say, we can't get a copy. If you pre-order it, your copy is reserved. All right. Exactly. Exactly. Right. And you'll be letting your favorite bookstore know about maybe it could be their favorite book too. Right. All right. So anyways, I do want to thank the viewers tonight for tuning in here with Jennifer Silva Redmond with the Honeymoon at Sea. All right. So bye. Good night, everybody, and bye for now. Thank you. Bye.